Thank you very much, everyone, first of all, for joining this webinar. Uh, uh, this is actually done by, this part is done by Professor Edward Curry, but unfortunately, he is not here with us today. He's traveling, so I will be speaking on behalf of him. So basically, like, this is the agenda for today. Normally, Professor Edward Curry does the welcome note, and we do a very quick introduction of Data Space Alliance in Ireland. So it's a very initial introduction that we provide regarding data spaces, and also like what do we do in Data Space Alliance, and what's the purpose of this webinar, etc. And then we have our guest today, Patricia Serrano Candelas. Patricia, sorry if I'm not spelling out your name correctly. So she will be talking about a very important data space today. It's EUCAIM. So EUCAIM is a cancer image data space. So she will be talking about it. And then we have a question and answer session. And finally, like a few remarks on wrapping up the session. So that's basically more or less the agenda. I will go very quickly to introduce or introductory part. Now, um, I think most of us here, like I mean, in this room or rest of the let's say that the people who are working with data would agree on the point that one of the critical limitations of us today is to availability of industrial data. Well, I mean, there are petabytes of data available on the web, 100% sure that there's no doubt about that. But when we talk about like availability of industrial data, particularly healthcare sector, it's always a challenge. It's always a difficult. And this is one of the key sort of like a limitation that European Commission wanted to address. And this is where the European data strategy started in 2019. And one of the central focus of this European data strategy is building data space. So then the question is that what data space is, technically speaking, it's nothing new. It's basically like the very old same thing that the people I mean to say that two different actors like data provider and data consumers are sharing data between them. But the point or the value that data spaces are adding is that what is the best way to make sure that this transaction between the data provider and data consumer will happen in a very trustworthy way. And that's where the data space play a very significant role. So this is the definition of data space, basically coming from the Data Space Support Center project, where Insight is also a partner, is that it's a distributed system that's defined the governance framework, and that framework is enabling a trustworthy, interoperable, and secure data transaction between different actors. So as you can see on the right, the top image, so basically you have different types of companies that are sharing the data and consuming the data. And data space here is just simply governing the transaction so that the transaction happen in a very trustworthy and interoperable way. So data space governance authority essentially is deciding what are the different regulatory frameworks that needs to be in place in a data space, what are the different sort of like standardized technologies needs to be placed to make sure that data is interoperable. And at the bottom two images, so you can see that the left-hand side figure is more or less like the technical one, so where the data space participants are there. So one participant on the left-hand side could be provider, one participant on the right-hand side could be consumer. And in between, the data space is providing all the technologies that ensure the trustworthiness and sort of like compliance. So that's basically, let's say that from a very brief technical glimpse here, you can see. Now, what Data Space Support Center project did, which is a CSA project, to support the data spaces in European Union countries, they came up with a blueprint. On the right-hand side bottom, you can see, so the blueprint is basically composition of different building blocks And in that building blocks, this data space support center project provided different guidelines that when a data space initiative will build a data space, these are the guidelines that needs to follow. So that's more or less like the what data space is all about. Now there are many there are many different data spaces are available at this stage, funded by the European Commission. There are a few data spaces that are basically, let's say, private organizations are also, let's say, initiating for different sectors. So at this stage, the Commission is funding, I think, roughly around like 100, more than 100 data spaces in 14 different categories. And these categories is basically like are aligned with the European Apply AI strategies, which include the healthcare sector, manufacturing, mobility, transportations, agriculture. They all are very, very, let's say that critical sectors that the European Union are funding to build data spaces. So the main idea here is to ensure that the stakeholders that are involved in these different sectors can exchange the data. It's like to promote the innovation, to develop a new solutions, including the AI solution and etc. So that's a sort of like a very a quick glimpse. Now, you can see also here is that the Commission's initiative started from 2023, funding different types of, like data spaces. The second one is EUCAIM, as you can see, it started 2023. It will be ending in 2027. We'll hear about it a lot. And then you can also see like, different data spaces are coming in 2025 and also 2026. So that's basically like, the list of the data space projects being rolled out at this stage. Now, what is the alliance and what are we doing? Now, what is happening throughout the European countries, particularly in the member states, is that taking this European data strategy, the countries are sort of like implementing the local data spaces. They are kind of increasing the awareness that how data spaces should be used, how you can participate in European data strategy, how you can contribute there. So we taking that particular focal point, so we also took an initiative. So our main goal here is, and we're calling it, of course, like Data Space Alliance. And our main goal here is to increase awareness. Of course, that's a very quick win that we want to gain. And then the second thing is that we want to support the Irish, let's say that the data ecosystem in like by providing sort of like consulting and by providing a different sort of support, not much technological, but more on like guidelines sort of things to sort of let's say that setting up their data spaces and also being connected with the European data spaces and etc. So our target is to support the public sectors, SMEs and etc. So this is all about, let's say that our initiative, and we are one of the key partner inside University of Galway of Data Space Support Center project, and this is where we want to kind of like take the knowledge that what we have gained over the last 3 years, and we want to sort of like support the Irish data ecosystem or companies, SMEs, to sort of like to build an ecosystem that they can share the data between them. We are also conducting different types of research activities. As you can see, that Professor Edward Curry has been writing and working on data spaces since 2013. There are different publications there. So we are also working on W3C as well to standardization of the data formats and etc. We are part of, let's say that we're part of a different working group in W3C, including the data space working group. And we are also conducting the research that how artificial intelligence can take advantage of data spaces. So we're trying to build not only that side, actually a symbiotic relationship between data space and AI, that how AI can take advantage of data space, how data space can take advantage of AI. So that's one of our focal point at this stage in our research, let's say that goal. We're also building a Irish data space sandbox. So the idea here is to offer a sandbox to the Irish community, and then basically like, let them connect and test their sort of like, their data ecosystem. And then like, based on that knowledge and experience, they can build their own. So that's the sandbox. It's in progress. Basically, like we're planning to deliver it somewhere in the middle of this year. And here is our guest. Thanks to Patricia for taking this, let's say, accepting our request to be here. And it's a great opportunity for us to learn about EUCAIM. EUCAIM is one of the critical data spaces in EU. And Patricia will introduce herself later on, but very quickly, she's a biologist and one of the key person in EUCAIM data spaces. So we'll hear about it. Last but not least, is that there is a seminar, not seminar, sorry, conference coming on. It's like organized by BDVF and Irish Data Space, the alliance that what we are, that we will organize a specialized event, particularly for Irish stakeholders. So if you're interested, we're looking for you to join there. So with that, thank you very much. I will hand it over to now Patricia. Patricia, please. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Rafik. I am going to share my screen. Um, okay, do you see the screen?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect. Oh, sorry. This is the first one. So thank you, Rafik, for introducing me. Good morning, everyone. I am Patricia Serrano Candelas, the project manager of EUCAIM in the Biomedical Research Group in La Fe Health Research Institute in Valencia. And first of all, I'd like to thank Ed Curry and the team of the Data Space Alliance Ireland for inviting me to briefly introduce the data spaces ecosystem and more specifically the EUCAIM health data space and its main characteristics. This is the agenda for today. I will start describing some general aspects of data spaces, but Rafik has addressed this question. Giving an example of health data space, that is EUCAIM, I will describe some technical aspects of the platform and its value-added services, the onboarding of participants, and the governance framework, and the operational and financial sustainability. Starting with the generic aspects about data spaces, Rafik has described and defined what is a data space. And it is important, I think, that describe some general technical aspects that define a data space and are important to the operability. The first one is the interoperability. For participants to share data effectively, they must ensure both technical and semantic interoperability, relying on standards that enable consistent data exchange and full traceability. Second, we must ensure data sovereignty and a solid trust framework, defining clear data access and usage policies. They are essential to avoid losing control about how, when, and with whom the data is shared. And third, every data space specifies the types of data and services it will provide, along with the mechanisms that allow participants to access them. These images has been shared with Rafik, but I think that it's important to specify specify these questions to give an example of EUCAIM. And also the another image that Rafik has shared before. This is related to the organizational aspects about data spaces, because to guarantee long-term sustainability, it is also crucial to establish a viable business model, classifying the value of a data space offers to its participants. And finally, a robust governance model is needed one that designates an authority or coordinating entity responsible for overseeing the participation, ensuring the compliance with all the relevant legislation, and maintaining trust among all users. So through this presentation, I will explain how we address each of these aspects within the EUCAIM initiative. So let's go with explaining EUCAIM as an example of this their space. EUCAIM is the European Federation for Cancer Images. It's an European project to develop a research infrastructure with the objective to create a repository of cancer images to be used to develop AI tools. This is a flagship activity of the European Cancer Initiative of the European Commission. The administrative coordinator is EIBIR in Austria. The scientific coordinator is Luis Martí Bonmatí in La Fe Hospital. And the technical coordinator is the Polytechnical University of Valencia. Nowadays, the consortium has 95 partners from 17 countries because we had an open call to include more participants in the consortium. The project is co-founded by the Digital Europe program with a total budget of almost 40 million euros. And it is expected to finalize this year because the duration is 4 years. So this project has its origins in the AI for Health imaging cluster, which brought together 5 research projects focused on cancer imaging and the development of artificial intelligence tools to improve the diagnosis of different types of cancer and prognosis. And building on the experience and the collaboration within this cluster, the coordinators and key partners decided to join forces, and that's how EUCAIM was formed. And here you can see an overview of the 90 current partners and a selection of the most important stakeholders that are registered in the initiative. So the main goal of this project is to address the fragmentation of existing cancer images repositories, creating an atlas of cancer images that are anonymized. And these images will be accessible to clinicians, researchers, and innovators. And the specific objective is to deploy AI tools related with the diagnosis and treatment of cancer, and also to create a federated data warehouse for deploying observational studies in the future. So in order to ensure that the platform functions properly, we need to guarantee the compliance with the FAIR principles, which requires the use of common standards. And for cancer imaging, we rely on the DICOM format. To standardize the structure of clinical data, we use the EUCAIM common data model that is based in MCode, that is specific for cancer. We also catalog datasets using metadata aligned with the health data AP specification. And to integrate and relate concepts across the ecosystem, EUCAIM incorporates also a hyperontology. And in this section, I will describe some key elements of the platform's technical design. First, it is important to understand that the EUCAIM platform can be populated in 2 main ways. On the one hand, the Atlas of Cancer Images includes existing imaging datasets or collections coming from previous projects, as well as new datasets created during the duration of EUCAIM. And on the other hand, future datasets may also originate from real-world data observational studies that can be developed within the framework of the project. The architecture is organized around a central hub. This hub hosts the governance bodies as well as the core services of the platform, which I will explain in the next slides. It also includes a central storage system for the data holders that the site to transfer the data because they have not storage or computational capabilities. And also the hub is complemented by a network of federated nodes. So there are sites that keep their data locally. EUCAIM defines 3 levels of compliance for federation depending on the maturity of curation of datasets. The datasets in Tier 1 can be discovered in the catalog at the metadata level. The Tier 2 enables data level discovery, providing aggregated information such as the number of studies or subjects matching specific filtering criteria. And the Tier 3 supports federated learning, given that these datasets are encoded in the EUCAIM's CDM. In EUCAIM, we have 2 reference nodes. These are the central storage systems for the data holders. And one reference node is located in Netherlands, is managed by Eurobioimaging Health RI, and is based on XNAT system to ingest the data. The other is located in Valencia, in space, controlled by the UPV, and the ingestion in this reference node is through the tool QP Insights developed by KeyBeam. Regarding the core services of the platform, the dashboard is the main entry point for all users. Here it is shown dynamic data monitoring, including Tier 1 and Tier 2 aggregated information. And the dashboard also provides guidelines for data holders, data users, and software providers, and also information about the EUCAIM's hyperotology and the link to the training platform. And the access to the platform is managed through the Life Science Authentication and Authorization Infrastructure System, where users log in with an authorized account. In the catalog, users can browse the metadata of all available datasets. And at the moment, we have 86 datasets from 13 providers. The FERBA tool is also integrated into the catalog, and automatically this tool analyzes automatically the fairness of the metadata for each dataset. And to identify datasets that meet specific inclusion criteria, users can perform a federated search. And currently in EUCAIM there are 36 datasets, almost 50,000 studies that comply with the Tier 2 requirements. EUCAIM has also developed the Negotiator. That is a tool that allows users to request access to the dataset they have identified, and it is synchronized also with the catalog and the LSAI system. But I will describe this process in more detail later when discussing the governance framework. And the platform also includes monitoring tools related to the help desk activity, resource usage, and service performance. And now, regarding the added values, I want to highlight the pre-processing tools. There are tools that harmonize images obtained from different devices, providers, or acquisition protocols. We have also annotation tools that help the radiologists better delineate tumors, and also tools that generally improve the image quality. And in addition, there are tools that assess the fairness of the datasets and tools that identify images to ensure the compliance with the GDPR and other European and national regulations related with the data protection, the protection of personal data. These processing tools are only one part of the catalog. Beyond them, there is a large number of tools that use these images to develop, train, and validate AI models that predict cancer development, classifying tumor stage, or provide information related to patient survival. And in addition, the catalog includes tools that support the deployment of distributed nodes and enable federated learning across the EUCAIM ecosystem. And in regarding of the onboarding of participants, here you can see different types of participants involved in EUCAIM. The data holders are organizations that populate the platform with images or clinical data related to cancer. The data users are entities that use this available data to develop algorithms, software, or tools. The software providers who share their tools with the community through the marketplace of EUCAIM, and a group of partners dedicated to manage coordination activities or legal or dissemination questions. In this slide, you can see the onboarding process for data holders specifically. All data holders start with three initial phases. Firstly, the initial assessment, where they complete the application form and the tier maturity level questionnaire. Secondly, they have to comply with ethical and legal requirements as described in the legal handbook. And thirdly, they are requested to create an account in the system and go through the training materials. And after these common steps, data holders follow one of the two possible pathways. They may choose to transfer the data to one of the reference nodes, in which, in that case, they should sign a data transfer agreement, or they may choose to deploy their own federated node, which requires signing a data sharing agreement. Through this process, data holders receive support from the engagement team and the technical support team, as well as from the help desk through the ticketing system and directly from the technical partners of the consortium if they need. They also have access to several resources like the technical and legal handbooks, training courses, tutorial videos, and the glossary. Here in La Fe Health Research Institute, we coordinate the onboarding of the data holders, ensuring that the platform is populated. So it means that we monitor the progress and completion of all the steps outlined in the handbooks. Related to the governance framework of EUCAIM, in order to coordinate centrally the functioning of the platform, EUCAIM has established a comprehensive legal and governance framework that defines how the actors must operate within the platform. And to begin with, several key legal documents have been completed, like the data protection impact assessment of the platform, a detailed description of the legal landscape, analyzing all the legal legislation that applies to the initiative, the AI impact assessment of the AI solutions in the platform, and the pseudonymization strategy that compiles all the workflows and tools related with the identification in the platform. We also have finalized the templates for the data sharing agreements, the data transfer agreements, and the terms and conditions. In addition, all partners have signed the representation agreement, which authorized the scientific coordinator to sign these agreements with data holders on behalf of the entire consortium. And finally, EUCAIM follows a compliance by design model, which ensures that the platform can support and implement the obligations defined under the European Health Data Space. And in this slide, you can see the workflow of the data access. In the beginning, the data users discover the data in the catalog and refine their request. And when find the datasets that match with their inclusion criteria, they apply through the negotiator. And after that, the access committee evaluates the scientific relevance of the application and the compliance with the legal requirements. And only when the data user comply with these requirements is allowed to access to the selected datasets. Here you can see a more detailed steps in the data access request process, including the members involved, the actions taken, and the duration of each step. And in relation with the operational sustainability of the project, we are working in the creation of an EDIC, an European Digital Infrastructure Consortium. It is a legal instrument created by the European Commission to help member states jointly set up and implement multi-country digital projects. And once this legal entity is created with at least 3 member states, private entities can also participate in the consortium. This type of legal entity will allow the maintenance of the platform after the funding ends this year and participate in competitive calls like Horizon Europe or Digital Program as a member of different consortia. And to achieve this goal, we created the working group of the EDIC to engage ministries of health or digital affairs of member states to be part of the EDIC. This group has worked to submit the pre-notification of the EDIC application to obtain feedback from the European Commission to improve the application. And now we have also created the EDIC statutes, and we are ready to submit the formal application in the next months and wait for the Commission decision. Currently, there are 12 countries with ministerial representatives actively participating in the working group that have signed the letter of intent expressing their preliminary commitment to be part of the EDIC, with Spain as the host country. And there are also 8 observers that participate in the meetings, but are not sure yet if they will be part of the EDIC or not. And just to finalize, related to the financial sustainability, we are developing a business model related to the EDIC service portfolio, analyzing several questions like the competitors and our competitive advantage, the customer segmentation, the central hub costs, the revenue streams, and the price segmentations. We also have developed the portfolio of EUCAIM services, taking into account the stakeholder needs, including industry and public institutions. And EUCAIM is also working in the implementation of the invoicing system in the negotiator, analyzing the end-to-end costs related to the data provisioning process, and we are proposing also a freemium pricing structure for some services. And I want to conclude talking about some general benefits of the project. Today, this infrastructure already allows researchers across Europe to access and share data in a secure and efficient way. In the future, this same infrastructure could also support the certification of AI tools thanks to its standardized data framework and robust governance. Ideally, some of these tools developed and validated through EUCAIM will eventually be used in clinical practice, helping radiologists to improve diagnosis, prognosis, and treatment in cancer care. And ultimately, the greatest beneficiary will be society, which stands to gain from the scientific and clinical advantages that projects like EUCAIM make possible. And this is all from my side. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Patricia. Okay, I suppose there's an opportunity to take some questions if anybody would like to ask any questions. So can I just ask you, maybe Patricia, are you finding much uptake from kind of commercial organizations like large medtech companies, large pharma companies at all, getting involved in this data space?
We have not pharmacological companies, but we have developers of AI tools in the project. One of them, Kibim, for instance, this is a Valencian company. This company developed AI tools to annotate, to segment the images and to detect cancer more rapidly, to help the radiologists. And as far as I know, they has commercialized the solutions in UK, for instance.
Okay, interesting. Okay, thank you.
Patricia, I have a couple of questions, if
Mhm.
you allow me. Um, Regarding the services of the data space, EUCAIM data space, I mean, is it offering any service at the processing level? Let's say that if I am a data provider, right? So how much EUCAIM could support me in processing data and then sharing them.
Yes, it is a team specialized in supporting the data holders to create the data sets,
Mhm.
to improve these data sets, to be measured and to follow the tier 3 requirements ideally.
Mhm.
So this is a team of 12 people, and if they need more support from the technical partners, they are available to be involved in this team. So yes, this team support the data holders to prepare the data, to anonymize the data, to use the tools, and to include finally the tools in the reference nodes, or to create their own local node.
Right. And do you have any infrastructural support that you can sort of host also the data from the provider, or it always has to be that the provider will have their own node, maybe on the cloud or in their own infrastructure, or you can offer something?
Yes, the data holders have two possibilities: to transfer the data into the reference nodes, to one of
Mhm.
the reference nodes, and the other possibility is to create and deploy their own local node in the cloud. So the sharing of data is on the cloud, but the data are always in their local node. And
Yeah.
the processing
Mm.
and the federated learning is in this node. The data
Okay.
are not outside of this node.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So,
Carmen.
Tricia, we have a question here from one of our attendees. The
Mhm.
question is, what is the incentive of data providers to participate in the data space?
Yes, they have the possibility to participate. They are in the list of data holders of UCAIM. So for future projects, they can be contacted to participate in another project. This is one advantage, and the other one is that UCAIM offers huge number of tools to improve datasets. So if a data provider, a data holder participates in UCAIM, they have the possibility uh, to um, to modify their datasets, to improve their datasets with the tools of UCAIM.
Okay.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
Hey, Carmen.
Yes, yep, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. I have a couple of questions. So that was my question actually,
Yeah.
and I have some follow-up questions if there's time I can ask then. Um, Thank you, Patricia, for your presentation. So what I'm working on right now is incentive alignment. So I'm working on I'm a PhD student. I'm working on how different data sharing ecosystems participants are aligned to their business objectives and how their incentives are aligned so that everyone is gaining incentives fairly. So that's why the question is except from the data space aspect, just only having tools, is that a proper incentive? Because there's a risk involved of losing their data, and there's this risk involved of having this losing competitive barriers, competitive advantage. So, like, how does incentives manages the cost and barriers involved for participation? Like, yeah, in general data space, yeah, or you can.
Uh, okay, you mean how we develop the business model? Or
No, no, not business model. So, data spaces are different. So they will have their own business model, but every participant have their own objective for participation, and it
Mhm.
involves some cost and barriers. One of the barriers is losing competitive advantage. So how come? And normally, organizations capture value from data sharing via business models. But when you are participating in a consortium, you are having either you can have your own business model if that's the case, but mainly they need incentives for participation. That's how they capture the value. Okay, so
Mhm.
how is this incentive alignment is managed, where the participants, are getting incentives fairly so that their business objectives is met?
Yes, yes, I understand. It is not expected to the stakeholders that are not partners of the consortium. It is not expected to obtain any budget to include their datasets in EUCAIM. But it is true that we are developing the business. Our business model will contemplate freemium services. It means that there are costs related to the use of the data, and I don't. This is not established now if these data holders will receive a budget for sharing the data. But actually, the most benefit to participate in the UKM sharing your data sets are, as I said before, to be the possibility to participate in more research projects, in more be a part of consortia, to participate in big projects in Horizon Europe, in the digital program, and also to improve your datasets. If you are active in research, you need to improve your datasets constantly and work with them and conduct your research. So, YouGame is a platform that allows you to conduct this work.
So, like, in a way, it's just networking. Like, it provides you a network, a
I
chain of networks where you can create, be a part of other projects and gain some, futuristic, what do you call it, profits in a way.
can I just add something, Patricia, if you allow me?
Mhm.
I'm bringing the Data Space Support Center project angle. Just to reply to Pratik, in general, what happens? Look, there are different types of data spaces. One is currently most of the data spaces are funded by the commissions, and
Yeah,
there are, Patricia, correct me if I'm saying anything outside. And
Mhm.
there are some data spaces that are funded by the national organization. But at this stage, what European Commission also is moving forward, that's one of the goal of Data Space Support Center Project 2.0, is to bring more commercial data spaces. Now, the business
yeah,
model that what you are actually asking question, it's a very, very good question because this has been discussed in several occasions in our project, the SSC project, that what would be the incentive for the for the providers. At this stage, what Patricia was mentioning that since the data spaces are funded by mostly by the commission, so there are very, let's say that the incentives are at the level of it's building network, getting the access to the project, and etc. But of course, like there are some people, at least I know, like there are some guidelines. You can find it in our version 3.0 in DSSC website if you go. is that there is something that going on is that what would be the business models, like a genuine business model where there would be kind of like, financial transaction between the provider and the
Mm-hmm.
consumer. That particular thing has not been laid out yet, like what would
Okay.
be the ideal. So at this stage, we are expecting that consumer will have some level of flexibility to create his own model, right? Sorry,
Yes.
provider.
The provider, yeah.
Yeah. So there is an element in the business in data spaces. It's called the contract, right? The contract
Mm-hmm.
negotiation and etc. So within the contract, there's a one piece of, let's say that one piece of data items. It's called like licensing and pricing, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you can offer your pricing, and then the consumer can basically like see that whether the pricing can be accepted or not. So that's the minimal, or let's say that the thin line has been sort of like discussed at this stage. But there, I mean, like in, of course, like when it will go to the commercial sort of like more at the commercial level, then
Like a
perhaps
marketplace.
like more business models will be evolved, right?
Yeah.
That okay, I will make it subscription based, I will make it like I will make it like one time payment. So that sort of things is still under investigation.
All right. Thank you.
No worries. I think Ehsan have a comment, a question. Carmel.
Thank you, Rafiq.
Sorry,
You were on
unmuted me.
mute.
Yeah, go
You were
ahead,
on mute.
Ishan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Ehsan, please, if you go. Yeah.
thank you for the presentation, Patricia. I'm just want to ask, does the current UCAIM provide any training platform or tool, for example, for deep learning or for weighted learning models on the data space, or that feature is not yet available?
Yes, there are a specific, do you mean to create local nodes?
To, for example, on the data space, like one is that, okay, a user can download a data set that are available for research, but some data set might not be available to be downloaded, and that need to be
No.
on the data space.
Mhm.
So, and being utilized on the data space. So for that, we might need some cloud resources to use that data on the within the data space and then analyze and see what the results could be. So is there any tool or platform provided to train and analyze multiple data set that are not completely freely available to download?
Yes, actually, the datasets cannot be downloaded. Even in the reference nodes, the datasets are always in the infrastructure, and we have also the federated nodes, the network of the federated nodes. Of course, there are tools to develop this federated learning or federated processes in the reference nodes and in the local nodes. I'm not a technical person. I am not sure what tool, but you can go to the UCAIM webpage and the bio tools. This is a list of all the tools related in our catalog, and some of them are related with the distributed processing and the federated learning. Yes,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Just one thing, Ihsan. I think like what Commission is taking the next step. I'm just adding what Patricia said is, I mean, to the best of like at least from the DSSC perspective, I'm saying like in our investigation, um, I think that the learning part, like a training part on data spaces, is not there. Patricia, correct me if I'm saying anything wrong. So what I think to this end, the commission want to help also the people, particularly who wants to train the model, and that's where the AI factories come and play a role. And this is the objective of Commission, is to take the data from data space. So they're trying to, like a kind of like create a pipeline, pull the data from data spaces, bring it down to the AI factory, right? And then basically train there. So currently, that already there are 9 different AI factories available. So you can actually train yourself. So you can register to AI factory, bring the data from data spaces or wherever you want. You can even push your own enterprise data and then train your algorithm in a distributed way or just in one AI factory. So that's the role of AI factory will be playing in future. So all the training will happen. Data space will have the data and the training will happen in AI factory workloads.
Okay. It is true that the objective of the AI factories is to develop this training work, but especially in EUCAIM, one of the objectives of EUCAIM is not only to maintain the data, but also to develop the training models, develop, train, and validate the models inside of the platform. This is one of the objectives. But maybe in the future we need possibly the AI factories if we need to develop foundational models or models that need huge
Infrastructure,
computational
yeah.
capabilities that only are available in the AI factories. But for develop algorithms related with the cancer images to annotate or harmonize models, in the reference nodes, we have sufficient computational capabilities, and also in the local nodes, in some of the local nodes, they will have also computational capabilities.
Excellent.
So, Patricia, just following on from just a quick question. So, for industry, then companies that just want access to data, that if they're working in the medtech space and maybe they're not offering anything themselves to the data space, but want just access to data, is there a role for them then in the data spaces? Can they get because that's one of the biggest,
Yes.
obviously, challenges for a lot of industry is they can't get access to data sets, and they're trying to make it so we don't always have to have clinical trials. There's already some data there that there can be access to. And to shorten that whole life cycle around medical device development. So
yes, this is the workflow of the data holder, the data users that I explained. This is an actor of the participant in the platform. We have the data holders that include the data, but the data users can be researchers, innovators, big or small companies that want to use that data. So they have to go to the catalog, select the datasets that are interested for them, and apply to request through the negotiator. This is the workflow established. And then after that, the access committee evaluates this request and allow the data user to share the data with them or not, depending on the application, the final application, the purposes, or the scientific relevance of the use of this data. So this is a workflow established for all of them.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. It's very interesting. A lot done and more to do. It's a huge area within the whole medtech ecosystem. So thanks for your time, Patricia. Very interesting. Yeah.
Thank you, all of you.
Thank you so much, Patricia. It was really, really very interesting. I knew EUCAIM, but today I really have learned EUCAIM. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rafik.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Thank you. And we'll, for all who involved, we will have the slides and the recording available in a day or two. Okay. Thanks again, Patricia.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll see you in
Thank
Ireland.
you.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.